Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. Today is Wednesday, and this is the Noon Report. And I want to thank you guys for stopping in, hanging out with me for a few minutes on this Wednesday. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and I'm sure you want to hear about it. So, first, let me say this for those that are familiar and close to the host, co-host, Mr. Lee Michaels. He is traveling across country today. His last remaining aunt had passed away, and they're having a memorial for her, and he has flown there to be a part of that memorial. So please keep him and his family lifted up in prayer. Thank you so very much for that. All right. So, shout out. Got to give a shout out to my mentor, Dr. Hunt. Dr. Hunt has been with me 30 plus years. And out of that 30 plus years, he has been nothing but a blessing to me and my family, as well as I have been a blessing to him and his family. So the reason I talk about mentors and the blessings associated with it, because I'm trying to encourage you to get a mentor, get someone that can be a part of what you do and they can help you get to where you're going and things can be a success story. Okay. So I just want to encourage you to get a mentor, then get a show and shout your mentor out. Okay. How about that? So let's get into it. So, as you all know, since last week, there has been nothing but national news all across the country. So, the first thing I want to talk about is on last night in Chicago in the runoff election, Brandon Johnson successfully beat Paul Vallis. Now, it was neck and neck. It was 51 to 49. I tell you, 48. It was close. It was close all the way up to the end, but Brandon pulled it off. And I'm so happy for the brother because he came out with his speech embracing all those that did not vote for him. Okay. So that right there lets you know of what mindset he has and what he is about, with about uniting the people of the city of Chicago. I think that they're on a new page, they're on a new journey. I think he will reach out to many other people and incorporate what they're talking about with their needs for their section of the city, not just one side of town, but the entire city. So, shout out, kudos. I worked with my sister in broadcast, Naima Latif, on her broadcast last night. She was broadcasting live from Brandon's banquet room at the Marriott. And we had a 2 hour coverage last night that had me, I was like, wow, I haven't done that in a while. But it was fun, to be able to do election coverage and make sure that we let people know what was going on inside of the ballroom on yesterday. Okay. So shout out to him. Other national news that I like to talk about, which is no surprise, former President Trump has had his day in court. And I have to reference Lee. Lee said he wanted to see him do the perp walk. Well, he did the perp walk on yesterday. He didn't have handcuffs on, but he was not smiling. And I tell you, he did not look good amongst all of those New York sheriff and police and attorneys that had him under their control. Now, Donald Trump, a person who likes to be in control in every situation, he didn't like it at all. You can tell by the look on his face, because I watched it. It was a couple of hours on the air, and they they didn't treat him like he was a VIP. And it's interesting some of the commentaries that were going on about what took place. Many people say that the charges against him in Manhattan are very weak. He's got 34 counts, felony counts of fraudulent paperwork within his company. Now, one thing that they underestimate, like this was a charge that was passed up by the federal attorneys. DOJ said, no, we're not touching it. But Manhattan said, yeah, we're going to do it because we've got new evidence to prove that he is guilty of what he has done. So most people forget that Manhattan, the DA made a statement saying like, hey, I am, we're the financial center of the world, and we want to make sure that nobody is able to pull these types of crimes off on us. And that was great. But they took down the mob on tax evasion. Okay. Think about it. You go back several decades, New York was where all of the major mob bosses lived, and many of them got taken down on tax evasion. The Fed took down some, and the city and the state took down some others. So when they got inside the courtroom and all of the threats that Donald Trump had made towards the judge and the family of the state's attorney, they said they didn't even blink an eye. Okay, all right, he can threaten us all he want. We don't care. Let him keep on talking, and he gonna write a check that his behind gonna have to cash. And I look at the fact that most people forget the accountant is already in jail. Okay, and he made a deal to get lesser time. So the accountant's information is what people are not paying attention to. So whatever that evidence that the accountant put on the table is strong enough for them to bring these 34 felony counts towards Donald Trump. Now, I know this is just one city and one set of charges against Donald Trump. There are other cities. Let's talk about them. There's Georgia. Georgia went to the grand jury, and they have 11 indictments coming out from their grand jury. And it's interesting. I was looking at some of his speech when he got to Mar-a-Lago last night, his homeland and his home base and his home territory. He had a rally, Trump did. And he was saying, it was a wonderful phone call. There was nothing wrong about it. It was just so wonderful. Like, are you kidding me? You told the man to go find some votes that didn't exist and make them for him. Said, you can do this for me. I'm Donald Trump. Just find some votes, give it to me, let me win the state. Now, there's all sorts of things wrong with that. What other president do you know called up a state and said, hey, I need you to swing some votes my way? No. If the people didn't vote for you, they didn't vote for you. You can't get it. It's not going to happen. But he tried to use his presidential influence to make somebody do something criminal. As Lee often says, he is a criminal. He uses that word so much, boy. I think I hear it coming out of my ear all the time. He's criminal. He's doing criminal things, doing what criminals do. So he should be charged as a criminal, especially with the Georgia, grand jury coming out. So I'm hoping it's a domino effect that the charges that came out in Manhattan will open up the opportunity for him to begin the process of having to do perp walks in many places. you know, yeah. So I hope that Georgia falls next, and then we've got two grand juries dealing with federal things like dealing with obstruction of justice is one with those papers in Florida that they picked up. And, I listened to his speech last night. He says, "Oh, I had those papers in a sealed room, locked. FBI looked at it and said, put a put another lock on it." So interesting enough, he knew that they were there, and it didn't do any good. Joe Elliott, thank you. He said Donald quickly went and hired that accountant a new attorney. So I don't think that's going to work because he's already doing time. Already doing time. That attorney then sang all 5-part harmony like he was a temptation. He sang and sang and sang. And that's what most people don't realize. You know, accountants are not gangsters. They do numbers, okay? And if you put enough pressure on them, they got notes, tapes, everything, because they know some of this stuff ain't rightly right. So they willing to bargain with the information that they have in order to protect themselves. And this judge in Manhattan has actually said that he wished he could have gave him more time. But because he made a plea agreement, he's got off easy. Now, that's what the judge said. Now, of course, Donald Trump tried to say that the judge doesn't like Donald or the Trump organization. Well, no. Why should a judge like a criminal organization? His job is to take a criminal organization completely out of the game. Okay? So, back to what I was saying about the grand jury in Florida for the criminal obstruction. He's got to answer for that because the special prosecutor has found evidence that he obstructed in that case. And then we also still have the grand jury that is in place for the January 6th in Washington, D.C. So this man is on everybody's docket for the grand jury. So I would hope that the domino effect will start taking effect. So Manhattan got their first set of charges in. They hit the ground running first. Now we have Georgia that's ready to pull the trigger. Let them pull the trigger. Those are state charges. Let them go ahead on and take Donald out of the game. We also have the federal grand jury in Miami. Usually the grand jury and federal grand juries take a little bit longer because they want to make sure that they got all of their I's dotted and the T's crossed in order to be able to make sure that when they pull the trigger, that you're going to accept responsibility for what you have done. And then they make you an offer to say, okay, well, since we got this noose around your neck, you know, you're going to take this offer of 10 years, 20 years, whatever they offer you, and then bam. You know, well, Donald's not going to accept anybody's plea bargains, so he's going to take his high-powered defense attorney and try and fight it. And then when he loses, they give you double the time. So that's normally how the defense system or the justice system works on a federal level, on any level, actually. They live off of plea bargains. So one of the things that I heard on yesterday by many of the agencies that were covering, if they found Donald guilty in Manhattan on all four of those charges, then what would be his likely penalty? The maximum or a likely penalty could be up to 4 years in jail for those 34 felony counts against him in Manhattan. Well, most people say, well, we don't think that Donald will wind up going to jail. Well, I've often said this. I cannot imagine a former president going to jail. And as much as Donald liked to run his mouth, um, every country out there that has spies would wind up placing their spies in that prison where Donald would be at with a notepad and a tape recorder to get every bit of information about the United States secrets on everything because he gonna talk. Donald don't know how to keep his mouth shut. Donald gonna tell everything he know. Okay. So he gonna be sitting there if he wound up within a prison system with everybody right there bowing down. Donald, how does this work? How does that? And he'll tell because he's that person. He is that person to sell out the United States of America. Now, there's always the possibility that if anything looks too dire straight for him, that he'll jump on that airplane and go to Russia, go to China, and they will milk him for all the information that he has. So that's the threat and the danger of having someone with our secrets, with our knowledge, with our everything, because he knows everything. He was at one time the person that had his finger on the button to be able to start World War III. So this guy is so dangerous. It's unbelievable. So, Donald is going to be in the headlines for a while. He is still campaigning to be the front runner for the Republican Party to try and regain the presidency. Now, let's look at that. This presents a very interesting dilemma because I have never, ever in the history of the United States heard of anyone that's out on bond being able to run for president. As a matter of fact, um, in many states locally, they do not allow anybody who has ever been arrested on a felony to be able to go forth and run for state or local office. So I'm not sure how he plans on trying to pull that off. Um, Still continuing to run while on bond because, in essence, he's still on bond. He's on bond. Now, he's going to have to get permission from the court in order to be able to run. And if the court does not grant him that permission, then technically he's got to pull out. Technically. Okay, so Manhattan being the first grand jury to pull the trigger, they control his freedoms. Okay, so he's got to try and get this case eliminated or get permission from the judge in order to be able to run in this election. So that's just something to think about. And in the history of the United States, I don't think there has been a president that was ever on bond, okay, ever on bond, that was able to run for public office. All right, so that's enough talk about Donald Ford today. We'll have plenty of time to talk about him in the upcoming weeks because this is going to be ongoing. There are some highlights in the sports world that I'd like to talk about. Shout out and congratulations to LSU, Louisiana State women's basketball team for winning the championship. They won the championship on this past weekend. Shout out to them. They'll be going to Winners Row. They'll be having a meet with the president and luncheon with the president. And I know they had a controversy with, they had some of the players had a problem with some of Jill Biden's words. She was saying that the game was so fantastic and it was so great that they should have both teams come to the president and meet him. And LSU was like, "No, we won. We don't want to take no lunch with the losers. We want to take our victory lap without them being there. We already beat them. Let them go and work on next season." So Jill Biden didn't mean any harm by it. Her press person came out and said she just wanted to acknowledge the fact that they both fought a very good championship game. Also on the men's championship, shout out to UConn. UConn came out and dominated the entire championship. They played very well and they put on a great game. They're a powerful team and they came out as championships. So shout out to them. They too shall also have a victory lap and have lunch with the president of the United States. So just shout out to great games. I watched the men's game. I did not get a chance to watch the women's game, but I did watch the men's game. And I tell you, it was a valiantly well played game. All right. So I don't want to keep you guys too long on today. I just wanted to encourage you guys to subscribe, like, and share. If you are interested in doing a show here on Street News Now, please go over to streetnewsnow.com, fill out the form, and someone in our administrative team will get back in contact with you and help you through the process of establishing a show right here. We got a lot of hours available. I've talked to many people about coming on. Everybody says, yeah, I'd like to do a show, but then they don't want to take their first step. So I encourage you to take that first step. Reach out to the website, fill out a form, and we will help you. We got a lot of time slots available. A lot of good broadcasting can go down here. If you are a reporter and you would like to report real-time news, we have an opportunity for you to be able to come over here to Street News Now and report on what's going on in your location, where you at. Once again, I want to encourage you to please pray for my brother and his family. They lost a matriarch of their family. His aunt passed away. Lee's aunt passed away. And today he is with his family, and they're honoring their aunt. So please keep his family, him and his family, lifted up. So I just wanted to encourage you all to stay blessed, because no man knows the day, the time, or the hour in which we're not here anymore. So please do your best, enjoy your best life, live your best life, and please just be careful. COVID is on the uprise again. If you are a person that has health conditions, underlying health conditions, you cannot afford to get sick. So I just want to encourage you to be safe, be careful, wear your mask. Don't take any unnecessary chances, because it is not worth it. You do not want to take any chances that can cause you your life. So that being said, I appreciate you guys dropping in, checking me out for another episode of the noon. This is just the noon report. This is not the special report, so I put the wrong one up. But that's okay. You know what I'm talking about. So thank you for dropping in. You be careful, be safe, stay blessed, and I will see you guys again on next week. Peace.